Geek Tank Radio, News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today, we're joining you from the grand opening of the Will Smith School of Public Speaking. He could have picked a better time to do this. I guess the dates were set in stone.
I'm going to go ahead and go home, Joe, because I've already said I will not speak on this publicly.
Too soon. I don't know, man. How do you avoid it? But anyway,
you do things like Daniel Radcliffe said, where it's like too many people have already given their opinion. I don't want to be just another person, putting an opinion on it.
We don't do that here at Geek Tank Radio. Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio. And Brandon's
Brandon,
this is
you need a new pull string. I don't know what it's connected to, but it is hooked up wrong.
So we're going to start a poll this week. Who would you like us to use to replace Joe?
Anyway, sloppy intro. Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio.
Ever, and we've been doing this for 7 years.
I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass. And Brandon said it. This is an important weekend for us. 7 years ago, we jumped on the radio, created Geek Tank Radio. It was our first. We've known each other longer than that, but it was our first broadcast, our first radio enterprise.
It was our first radio enterprise as a group. Because Allan's been on the radio since Diodes first lit up.
Yeah, since, what's his name? Marconi got the thing going over there.
He kept saying, you need to get on the boat. You need to get on the boat. I didn't get on the I don't know.
Yeah, and so it behooves us later in the show to discuss maybe what do you think of this, Brandon? The history of GTR, how it's evolved, and then maybe the future of GTR. Because, folks, we're really just getting started.
We got older.
That sounds really familiar, Joe.
We got older, grayer, and gained some weight. I mean,
but let's face it, guys.
I don't know. I think Joe may be thinner, but that's stress.
We've got this 1,000-watt broadcast tower. Cumulus has given us state-of-the-art equipment. We've got some tools here to use now, and we're gonna take full advantage of it.
I'm sitting across from one right now.
Okay. Anyway, so we're gonna dive deep into that. But
actually, I want to step back for a second. Allan, how powerful is this signal?
This would be 100,000.
Right.
Watts.
Okay.
Not the 1,000 he just announced. That was a flashback.
Did I say 1,000?
You said 1,000.
Because I was going to say.
That's why we both went. Wow, you're underselling this one, Joe.
Okay, sorry.
You've got to forgive Joe. We had a monumental weekend last weekend as well.
We did.
We spent all weekend at Mid-South Con, which was its first time back in 3 years due to the pandemic, and we had an amazing time. Our broadcast, area was not as great as we could have because of the distractions, but it was a fun time.
Yeah, special shout out to Marcus Green, Robert Alsup, and Cliff Easley. You guys know who you are, who were shamelessly trying to distract us while we're on the air. We're already challenged because we were getting a terrible signal in there. Parts of the show were blanking out.
I think we can just leave it as we're already challenged. But
I gotta
give Marcus mad props. That was some serious TikTok dancing with no music, man.
He did a good job. I mean, I have not seen such rhythmic flossing without a rhythm.
Yeah, well, I didn't know he could still move like that. I was kind of proud of him.
And just so you guys know, we do engage in revenge, and we will get our pound of flesh out of those guys in the future. They're going to regret their actions, and so I just want to put that out there.
I'm not sure if they're going to regret it, but we can enjoy what we do to them.
But
I was
Brandon,
going to say Robert Alsup and Allan Gilbreth have been working together for decades. I don't think there's anything we personally could do to Robert that will shame him.
Yeah, that's a good point. But this
is a man who came up to me with a luchador mask and a kilt and was trying to rub my back during the show.
All right,
it was weird.
Okay, well, 99% of Mid-South Con was a lot of fun for us. That was a
Joe
great
was
weekend.
Uncomfortable.
But Brandon, it was also noteworthy because we've been on site before as Geek Tank Radio. We've done recordings, we've taken interviews, but it's our first live remote from a convention.
It was,
which was cool.
It's actually kind of shocking. Yeah,
we've done the live remote from the Cooper Young Fest. We did a live remote from the home show, but this was the first time we did a live remote Geek Tank from our element.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and I can't wait to do it at the next one.
No, it's a lot of fun. In fact, I think that's sort of the wave of the future. Everything, it's so portable now. It's not like you have to pull up with truckloads of
Yeah.
equipment.
I'm remembering my first radio remote way back in the day, and it involved like satellite dishes, miles of cable, generators, a van.
That was not a satellite remote. You were on a stakeout.
Yeah. It's
no, I'm pretty sure the generator was running. So on the stakeout, you hide the generator.
Yeah, it's amazing the equipment that they've got today. As a matter of fact, isn't some of it battery powered? Like you can plug it in, charge it up, and use go really remote.
The actual relay transmitter we were using was an astounding bit of technology.
Yeah.
So had a 3-hour battery.
It was the size of like 2 iPads sitting next to each other.
Yeah, and big shout out to Ditch and to Max because they had to adjust on the fly a lot of times because we were having signal issues. We were having distracting attendees, getting in the way, and they dealt with us.
We had 3 co-hosts on Geek Tank who didn't necessarily know what was going on at any given time.
Yeah. So anyway, our buddies at Mid-South Con. But guys, it's the 7-year anniversary of Geek Tank Radio. So when we come back, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Geek Tank Radio.
It's treason, then.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
It feels a little treasonous in the room today. There's an electricity and a tension and a dynamic.
I said no politics on the show, Joe.
Anyway, welcome back.
My relatives are visiting. What?
Yeah. Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, where everybody is stepping on everybody today. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth, and our buddy Max behind the glass, the provocative Max.
I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. I'm enjoying the entertainment.
Yeah, it's kind of like people. The same reason you go to a zoo. He sits there with his popcorn and he throws things at the animals and gets them to do things and react. And
I'm gonna say if that's what you do when you go to the zoo, Joe, you're not allowed to go to the zoo anymore.
Well, okay. Anyway,
you're gonna make the wrong animal mad and it's gonna come out.
Oh yeah, don't get near. It gets interesting. So, well, guys, here we are. It is.
Glad to know that
it was 7 years ago, April 4th. It's noteworthy because here in Memphis, of course, April 4th is a somber day. It's a somber memorial of it's an important day with Martin Luther King. The assassination of Martin Luther King, and that was the day we launched Geek Tank Radio. However, there are connections with him and Star Trek, and it seemed almost, I hate to say it, almost a fitting day because we paid tribute to his geekdom. But that's when we launched Geek Tank Radio.
Was it really his geekdom so much as his support of a female black actress in a geek community?
Oh, no. He was a Star Trek fan. It wasn't just a fan of Nichelle Nichols. He was talking about the optimistic future of Star Trek and the future of Star Trek and the equality. And, of course, he was a fan of Nichelle Nichols and what her character represented. But, no, he was a Trekkie. He watched the show. So, but you guys, let's maybe for people that are new to the show, and I don't remember the last time we've even given the history lesson. So let's set the Wayback Machine, Allan. Yeah. So here we are. You and I were all the three of us were all friends back in the day. We were acquaintances who were
we'd seen each other at cons.
But
we'd had enough conversations in the after hours of conventions that had drawn crowds.
Well, I remember this specifically.
That is true.
Brandon, I remember this very clearly because this would be, okay, so this is 2015. Let's set the Wayback Machine. That means we were going into our 6th Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. We started in 2010. And I remember at one meeting, we were at a planning meeting, and I was saying, Brandon, it would be, because we promoted on Facebook, we promoted on social media, and I said, it would be fun to promote in a different way, or just do something to get attention or whatever. I don't know, to draw attention to the convention in a unique way. And the pieces started to fall into place when I would go on to these shows and we would promote, I remember specifically Ditch, back when he was on another station, would let us go on there and promote the convention. And he always said, gosh, you guys are really good. This would be, have you ever thought about being, getting involved in radio? And this was like back in 2012 or 2013.
That was when we would go, Yeah, right.
And I said, and then I want to give another big shout out because Ditch actually said that to me. And then a couple of years later, Amy Spiropoulos went on her TV show and she said the same thing. And I was like, it didn't occur to me. And then all of a sudden, I was listening to a commercial on the radio where they said, and this was not this station.
Let me set that scene.
Yeah.
Joe is sitting in a parking lot waiting for his son to get out of fencing class.
Right.
At the
in the
Collierville
winter.
Town Art Center. Was that
the Collierville Art Center? Our buddy Tom Knowles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just flipping through the dial. I wasn't listening to that station. I just flipped it, and they said, you could have your own radio show. And then I stopped, and it said, it was basically a paid hour of programming. And I'm like, that's interesting. You can pay for an hour of programming. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Joe was like, advertising.
And I'm like, what if we created a show? It would be, we pay for an hour of whatever. So we called this radio station. And by that time, we had also established a relationship with Jake from the Nation of Jake. And he said, no. I started telling him about it. He goes, you guys are getting over to our station. And more or less, we created this show called Geek Tank Radio. And I roped in Allan and Brandon. And Allan, you and I more or less to promote the convention. You saw it as a way to promote your publishing company, right?
That is correct.
It was like, but
we were, we're looking at different ideas. And I'm a bit of an old schooler. And let's face it, broadcast radio is about as old school as it gets.
Sure.
It is the first mass media to instantly reach the masses. So, and with all of the new technologies today, I still think that broadcast radio is probably a good bedrock.
Especially in the talk format, which is what we specialize in. And so and then we said, well, you and I first discussed it, and we're like, well, we need somebody that really knows their stuff when it comes to comics and gaming and is a diehard geek who speaks well, who's got a good personality. And then we go,
when
well,
that person said no, you got me.
Yeah. So we go, let's call Brandon. And honestly, you guys were the only ones on the list, and we put it together. And what was fun, you guys, is so if you want to get technical, it was a paid promo. It was a paid hour of advertising. However, we did not approach it that way. We said we're going to make a fun hour of content. We're going to do fake commercials. We're going to do gags. We're going to have celebrity guests. We got some pretty big celebrity guests within our first 6 months. So we had a 6-month contract. And suddenly what we noticed is because the other radio stations, other personalities from the radio stations, we go in and record Geek Tank, started sticking their nose in this, and they started wanting to be on the show. They're like, this doesn't sound like a commercial. This sounds really good. Yeah.
Because you listen to AM radio on a weekend. Usually you'll come across those shows where it was a paid advertisement for somebody's hobby or business or whatever. But you can tell that they're there and they're basically talking to an audience of one themselves.
Well, I mean, it's a promo, I mean, so.
I don't want to throw anybody else under the bus who we know, but I remember another show that was on the same station as us that wasn't a paid broadcast. I mean, these were actual, and they didn't even have the energy you did.
Well, all right, let's not do that, Brent. But here's the thing.
What, Joe? Are you embarrassed because of the fact that there were shows that we were around?
This is the approach I would say.
I'm sorry. Did you listen to?
Okay, all right. I don't know, Max. You're okay. Anyway, here's what I would say though.
Here we go.
This is what I was going to say. When we approached the show, we didn't say, "Okay, Allan, for this half of the show, let's talk about things to do with Dark Oak." Publishing, and then second half we'll talk about stuff to do with the convention. We basically talked about geek things, and we worked in mentions of our thing, and I think people appreciate that. Our one goal was to put out fun and interesting content. So,
all right. Well, basically, what generally happened is we sat down, and you had a list of notes, and Brandon and I would fundamentally ignore your list of notes, and we would go into a conversation that we would have at 2:00 in any morning at any convention.
Right.
And suddenly we had segments. Suddenly we had fake advertisers. Suddenly we had real advertisers. Suddenly, we actually sat around and did what we would normally do.
We just turned the mics on.
And we just turned the mics on.
And that is why we didn't sound like your typical radio promo, because we were having a conversation. we weren't necessarily pointing, going, and at the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, you can. We just did what we would do at the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention or Mid-South Con or Anime Blues Con, where we were bored out of our minds at the middle of the night because, the programming was wrapping down. We became our own programming.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, anything that was topical that caught our mind.
Right.
And here was the cool thing about that. The topics can range.
Sure.
I love to talk about food. Brandon loves to talk about comics. You like to bring up certain mainstream movies. But then again, you turn around and come up with some bizarre, obscure anime that you've suddenly got into. And there you go. Now suddenly you have a round table conversation.
And I think one of the things that really lent it to it is like me and Allan, you can tell that her whole thing was about talking. You can kind of look at us, see the things we're into, you know what we're going to talk about. But Joe, you are one of those kind of people who has that open passion for new things. And then when it's something you get into, you bring it with this passion of someone who's like seen something for the first time and just needs to tell everybody. It's like full on witness mode.
No,
it really does. It gets you where it grabs you. It gets your attention, and you just don't want to stop talking about it.
I always have the most. That's a good observation, Brandon, because I always have my most the most energy when there's something new going on, or when there's a new, like when we have a new thing that we're going to do at the convention or a new thing on the show. That does excite me, and it I guess that probably shows. But, it's funny. So within 6 months, we had a 6-month contract, and we said, well, money-wise, it was kind of, taking a toll on Allan and I. So we said, we're just going to have to let this go. Well, they didn't want to let us go. We basically went from a paid advertisement to now they were giving us airtime because they liked the content we were putting out.
We basically went to free labor.
Right. And then it evolved later into, more, so we basically earned our place, which was very satisfying. And of course now we, let's face it, we make a little money on this.
We were the little piglet that could. We squeezed in.
So, it's funny how things start. And it's all just, I don't know if this would have happened if I didn't happen to be flipping the dial that day. Maybe it would have happened at some point. But we do have to give a shout out to Jake, Nation of Jake. He guided us over, and, he dropped in on the show for some segments.
From the beginning, Jake Cook has always been a major supporter of us. And, we have to acknowledge that. It's like, honestly, he gave us great pointers going in, and I don't think we would have still been around if he hadn't.
And Ditch, of course, he was there at Ground Zero, and a big shout out to our buddy Amy Spiropoulos. So, all right, well, so that's a little bit of the history of Geek Tank Radio. I guess we're going to talk a little bit. It's evolved. It's like the Blob. It's evolved and changed. We're going to talk about some of its evolution. Many people. When we come back, you're listening to Geek Tank Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar Memphis. We'll be right back.
Geek Tank Radio.
Well done. Here come the test results. You are a horrible person. That's what it says. A horrible person. We weren't even testing for that.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Given the bizarre atmosphere in the studio today, that's not a bad rejoinder there, Max.
I try to make sure that comes out in everything I tell you.
Okay. Authenticity is great, Brandon, but we got to,
No. We are
tread lightly, sir.
We're pulling back the curtain.
Anyway, welcome
Joe's
back.
Joe's worried he's going to get sued.
Yeah. Welcome back to
I'm going to sue him for stifling my voice.
Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass. And, it's our 7-year anniversary. You'd never know it by these sloppy intros, but I guess that's sort of a staple. It doesn't have to be. We can get around.
I've come to this conclusion, Joe, and this is just honest from my heart. You don't listen to radio.
Oh, I do.
Because the only place that actually has a clean opening is NPR, and that's because there's only one mic open.
Okay, here we go. Let's not. Okay, I like. They have a lot of good stuff on there, but
yes, they do.
Anyway, so
but not us.
we've been 7 years ago, not technically today, but 7 years ago this weekend, April 4th of 2015, we launched Geek Tank Radio. It more or less started as a paid. 6 month. We had a 6-month contract as a paid commercial. The content didn't sound at all like a commercial. We had celebrity interviews, we had gags, we had fake commercials. People from other radio stations started dropping in on our show. They thought it was a lot of fun to talk about geek topics, and that was back in the day too. Don't forget we had The Force Awakens was coming out, and we had Daredevil. Remember all the things back then that were sort of revolutionary, like the Netflix getting the Marvel stuff, and Disney Plus didn't exist back then.
Nope.
And there was sort of a naive optimism in the air.
Yeah, we still thought his name was Happy.
Yeah.
And he drove for Iron Man.
And so in the midst of that, and of course, Geekdom was bigger than ever, so we launched Geek Tank Radio. It turned into something that they began giving us free airtime, into something we were able to eventually, monetize modestly. But Brandon, in between then and now, it's gone through quite an evolution.
It really has. We went from, our humble beginnings, on a terrestrial AM station, to becoming a full-blown multi-hours worth of entertainment every week on a podcast for another station. And we had so many people that we got a chance to meet along the way. I don't know exactly how we got roped into being associated with the Cartoonists Association of America.
Oh, that was great.
But those guys, and they invited us out to a benefit that they were doing at St. Jude. We got to meet a ton of cartoonists from across the country, and
world famous, like big names.
People.
Yeah.
And now I think the current president is our friend Greg Cravens, or has he finally moved out of that, Allan?
Here in Memphis.
I think he is still the membership chair.
Okay, because I remember
one of the world's top cartoonists lives right here in Memphis.
Yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out, Brandon. We met a lot of big names.
What's funny is we were friends with him prior to this,
right?
And other than Greg, he's part of this this cartoonist group. They do a lot of good stuff. You would think that would have been our pull into all that, but it wasn't. We were pulled in through St. Jude, and it was just like we got to interview people who did stuff with the Simpsons comics.
Bill Morrison, he's a big name.
The creator of Mutts. I've got an autographed Mad Magazine cover from one of the guys there. And we were there with our friend Chance Raspberry, who was our first guest on Geek Tank Radio.
Yeah, big shout out to Chance because he was on episode 1. He's an animator from The Simpsons. Yeah. He's been a guest at the convention many times.
Right. So it's just, and I think about those early years where we got to meet John Delancey.
Right.
I mean, we got to interview Q, and he said when we were talking with him, it was like, we can give you about a 10, maybe 15 minute. And we did 2 full episodes worth of material with that interview.
Oh yeah,
he
talked for over an hour.
Once you got him talking, he didn't want to end the interview, and he was supposed to be going to a casting thing.
Yeah, and that was almost a master class in guiding your career.
It really was.
It was, and I think he was happy that we didn't just start out with Star Trek.
Yeah.
We started out with. The first time we saw you was like you were killing somebody.
Yeah, he was on Murder, She Wrote.
And suddenly he was like, and let me tell you how contracting worked. And let me tell you how being a studio foil worked. And it was like somebody started taking notes.
I loved his story about, he didn't even realize what he had gone in to read for when he read for Discord for My Little Pony.
Yeah.
And did not realize how big a fan base he was getting involved with. And he said it rivaled the Star Trek fan base in their, just passion for the material.
Yeah, in our celebrity interviews, because we've interviewed Joel Hodgson from Mystery Science Theater. I got to interview Lowell Tolhurst, who, if you don't know who that is, folks, he's the drummer from The Cure, which is an awesome goth band from the 80s that everybody should know. And he's the one that came up with the name for The Cure. But one thing that I've always been proud of on our celebrity interviews, you guys, is we don't go for the stereotypical questions. We always ask things that nobody else is going to ask. So it's always fresh material.
I know that we always say that we don't do politics. On our show, but back in 2016, you got a chance to interview then presidential hopeful Ted Cruz.
Yeah, and it was interesting because we didn't talk politics at all. We talked about Star Trek because we never do politics on the show. But if you get to talk to somebody who's running for president about Star Trek and Batman and things like that, I'll take that all day.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean,
and that was a pretty big get. Actually, we got nationwide coverage from that. So.
That interview popped up on other shows across the nation, and it was just the idea of something that has a national, audience. All of a sudden, I hear my co-host's voice as he's asking So let's talk about that True Blood episode.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, but it's funny, and I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound, I don't know what, braggy, or I don't want to sound, but I feel like in today's society, I know I have fun. I love doing Geek Tank Radio. Geek Tank's probably one of our favorite things that we do in our life. But I'm starting to feel like it's kind of important for our society, because we don't do everything we do here is designed to be inviting to everybody. We want everybody to listen. We don't offend anybody. We have wide-ranging topics, and we're actually fun. So, I mean, we need this in our culture.
One of the early, mentors and contributors to Geek Tank Radio was Brody Scott. And that was one of the things he always said, is that if you can find a way to make sure that you put a positive spin on a story, do that. Sure. Because while everyone else is going negative, you'll stand out.
Yeah, isn't that the easy clickbait, is some negative thing? Because that's and speaking of evolution, one of the important evolutions of Geek Tank happened in the midst of the whole Last Jedi movie that came out. I underwent a evolution just because I didn't like the movie. I was part of that, but then Brandon, I started to see the sewer of social media and some YouTube channels that suddenly they made their claim to fame about how much they hated The Last Jedi, and I that's not a healthy way to live. It's I'm like, wait, I don't want to start teaming up with these guys.
I remember that you were very unhappy with what was Luke's hero's journey, which did not go in the path that you were expecting. Right. But it was very much a deviation from what you knew about the character. There were parts of that character, I didn't read a whole lot of the expanded universe, but I could see through the movies that being the path that a lot of people would take. But, while we disagreed, I was very impressed with the fact that you were able to channel your dislike of the movie into a positive format when you wrote that, you wrote your own treatment, idea, and it was very positive, while everybody else was negative about how, Kathleen Kennedy is ruining Star Wars. Disney is ruining Star Wars. But you were very, here's what I would have done differently. And you kind of like therapized yourself. Yeah, because I felt that anger. I felt all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is really kind of dumb. It flares up. But then, to make an entire career, and I'm sorry, there's people out there that they still do that. They make division and anger as a way of if you're going to monetize getting people divided and making them mad, I'm sorry, how do you sleep at night, man? If that's genuinely your goal as far as the way to make money, buy two rival sports teams and put them against each other. Don't sit there and tell people they're stupid for the things they like.
But that happened. It played out in the midst of the evolution of Geek Tank. Right. So it's like, and I think, I guess we have to talk about some of the cast of characters. You gave, our buddy Brody Scott was pivotal. He brought us over to a new network and everything. So.
I mean, we've had people who come in and out. Laura Johnson, who I did the show Ruined with, where we went ballistic about The Force Awakens. Yep. She also would later on be exiled from the country to study geekdom abroad through her Watson program. Indeed.
Oh yeah. Yep. Allie Diggs.
Amy Lockley. Got to give a big shout out to Wayne Camp and the people at the Cinemassacast for giving us our sister podcast.
Yeah. A lot of people, were part of the team, throughout the years. So we'll pick up the discussion when we get back. You're listening to Geek Tank Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We'll be right back.
Geek Tank Radio.
You don't got movie sign till I say you got movie sign, capiche?
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Sounds like a little power move from Mac. That's kind of his attitude here, till he pushes the button, we got nothing, man.
Until the little red light comes on.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass on this unique, I don't know, for us, It's a day of reflection. It's a day of, it's the weekend marking our 7-year anniversary doing Geek Tank Radio. And I don't know, it's evolved. It's mutated.
It's something.
I mean, it's like...
Mutated is probably the right word. I like that one.
Who did we leave out, though? I feel like there's other people. Jeremy Veldman is a guy.
Jeremy Veldman from the Memphis Astronomical Society.
He played a good role, and we need to get him back, actually.
And of course, we got to throw a big bonus to opera.
Ned Candy.
Because hey, I'm a villain. I love me some opera.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to forget a ton of people, but yeah, there's people that have contributed throughout the history, and it's always fun too. You know, we've had people, like we said, from other networks that have dropped on the show, and celebrity guests that have come in. It's just it's fun, but we're really feel like we just are kind of getting started. And let's be honest, the Roar is not even a year old in terms of radio. That's it. We're in its infancy, right?
We're on the baby line. However, we got so much to look forward to because let's face it, in the world of geekdom, we have the gifts that keep giving.
Yeah, we're mainstream now.
We are no longer okay. There's a really bad Spider-Man TV show going to air for 6 episodes before it gets canceled. I'm thinking back in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to have a Thor that looks like Party Bro.
The worst is the Captain America
know.
with
Did
the...
you see Endgame?
No. Well, all right. That was dad bod thrower. That was a whole good one there.
No, that's how most Party Bros look after, 6 consecutive weeks of drinking and video game playing.
Yeah, you talk about an evolution. The Marvel movies, what an evolution that's gone through. I mean, they used to be the laughing stock of entertainment.
Well, don't worry, Morbius has added back to that.
But
we'll talk about that on another week.
We'll see about that.
It's already happened.
Oh, it's already begun?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can't have 47 perfect hits in a row. Well, let's see. The Darth Mickes has arrived, so we now have Disney Plus.
Right.
Disney bought every major franchise on the planet that they could get their hands on.
So
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, it's every major franchise belongs to some major entity at this point.
Why aren't they trying to buy us?
Yeah,
no offense, but I'll be happy to sell you guys down the river in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I'm here for the money. No, we couldn't be here for the money after a statement like that. We have a lot to look forward to. We've got we've got podcast. We've got just in the gaming world, there's a lot of stuff coming new. There's a lot of new anime coming. There's a lot of old anime we haven't talked about. There's, oh my gosh, and just my favorite segment, the news segments. How much news happens every week these days? I mean, it's by the ton.
Right, but that's just talking about content. Let's focus on where we go next.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we're portable now.
We are portable.
Ooh, that's scary.
So if you want to book us to do a live event for you, call Ditch.
Hey, it's much easier to do now.
And if we survive the recording live in the middle of a thunderstorm, we can survive
outside.
Anything.
That's true.
Under a metal awning.
I'm sitting there like we're all going to get electrocuted.
Yeah, it's fun to but it's not just that. It's just the way technology dictates where we go. Like I said, it's I think back in 2015, I still had a flip phone. Well,
that's probably true.
It is true. I know that because I didn't have the
you didn't
MLB
trade
app
it in
or anything.
until 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, it's just, but it's like now people can listen from around the world. And I seem to remember, didn't we? Don't we sometimes get messages or we get things from somebody in India or Brazil or somewhere that they come across the show? So
well, yeah. I mean, if you look at you go to Spotify and look at our analytics. Almost everywhere that there's a major U.S. military base,
we're there.
We have listeners.
Oh gosh! So
it's
wait,
really weird.
We're responsible for the morale of our military. Oh boy, that's a pretty big weight on our shoulders, you guys. So, I mean,
I don't think it's entirely us, but
I think we're a nice little escape for a few minutes.
Pretty much, and it's kind of fun to look at. The analytics we have now over what was just available 7 years ago has changed drastically.
Yeah, back when we first started off, it was like, well, we're showing here that some people are listening to you.
Yeah.
And then just a few years later, it was like, we can show you each individual hit on your podcast website. And now it's like, they bring numbers into us that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Because we have such a wider range because of that 100,000 watt antenna.
Well, I can speak, and I probably speak for all of us on this. I think, being over here with Kitch and our buddy Morgan Bohannon and all the whole family of stations over here and the state-of-the-art equipment and our partnership with the Tigers and the Titans, I just feel like we finally arrived, and we've got the resources to sink our teeth in and really just make Geek Tank something special, which we have plans. We can't announce today, but stand by.
Well, I want to step into what you were saying about being over here.
Right.
In comparison to anywhere else we've been multiple places at this point. We've been on multiple stations through multiple podcast, units, various things. This is the first time that I've ever had somebody stop me in the hallway to introduce themselves to me, and then when I go to tell them I know, I listen to Geek Tank. It's like I never got that anywhere else.
No, it's fun, and in our day-to-day life, I've told you guys
it's very humbling.
Yeah, it is, because even I know it is, because even I know people listen, but I never meet those people until we got over here. Where they're like, oh yeah, I enjoy your shows. Those are fun to listen to. I'm like, I just feel like, okay, we are actually at a radio station now. But they have the resources to really, and the technology and the wit and the will. And Ditch has been a great supporter of ours and everything. That makes a big difference. So
he's always been a good guy. No matter what it was we were doing, whether we were there or not, with him or not, he's always been, very supportive.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued by the plant, things, the way they're evolving over here at the station anyway. You get the sense of, it hasn't even been a year, and like I said, in radio terms, that's just nothing. It feels like it's almost like if you're building a house, Alan, the foundation it's finally drying now. Now it's time to start building on it. So that's the vibe I get over here. So,
well, there's nothing wrong with we got a fun past. We got one of those, as we like to put it, the checkered past. It's been up, it's been down, it's been here. We've done different things. We've tried different stuff. And now, honestly, we get to look forward and go, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Is there going to be more, and we look towards all the different contents that are available to us.
When it comes to watching the evolution of you guys from where you all started 7 years ago, it reminds me of a quote by a famous haiku poet by the name of Matsuo Basho. He said, "Every day is a journey, and the journey itself a home."
Huh. Oh. Ooh, I like that. The journey itself is a home. Yeah.
See, now I feel bad about the fact I was going to go, you were a fetus when we started.
No, he was about 3 foot tall when we started, though. He was a lot smaller then.
Yeah, and now we've corrupted him and brought him into the
I don't think there's. I think he did that all on his own.
I blame his upbringing.
Yes.
But Max, and I like the fact that Max is contributing. We didn't always have for one thing, we didn't always have a producer. I remember sitting across the board back in the day, Alan, and you would push the button and nothing would happen, and you'd slam the receiver a little bit, and so, it was just.
Then I'd reach underneath it and beat the module with a mallet, and all of a sudden the world would come back on, and I would be pointing fingers, like, "All right, let's go."
I think about it, and over the course of our time, every one of us in this room has been a producer, except Joe.
No, I had to produce a couple of times against my will because I was literally the only one there. And there's nothing more exciting than when you've got 20 seconds to go on air. You have no idea what button to push, and you're trying to wave down somebody from the hall. And you're trying to wave down somebody from the hallway to get
Yeah,
you don't have.
There's a moment of trepidation when you're like, I'm going to press the wrong button. Yeah.
You don't have that over here.
Yeah,
Everything's,
thank goodness. Thank goodness.
It's staffed right. And Max, it is nice having Max here, I have to admit. So, well, I guess you guys in the future, though, you can look for us to show up around town at different events.
Right.
That's for sure. Hopefully what I'd like to start.
We will annoy you everywhere.
Yeah, well, I did dinner theater last night, so a big shout out to everybody I got to meet then, and looking forward to more events, and
Yeah, and I think we'll be
It's gonna be
shining.
exciting.
We're going to reestablish some of our some new themed segments, you could say, and maybe resurrecting like I said, our bad geek confession and things like that. But also, what we'd really like is more interaction. If you're listening right now, we'd love to hear from you. Go to our Facebook page. Join the Geek Tank Radio family over there. If you want to say happy anniversary to us, we would like that. It would be nice.
Give us a shout out.
Tell us how long you've been listening, because I mean, some people have been there since day one, Brandon. And
I know I have.
yeah, so that yeah. In fact, maybe we should go to Facebook and give them a shout out as well. Somebody, can you track who the first likes were and everything?
No. Facebook likes to hide those things from you when it's been so many years. Okay, when it's been so many months.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess we've done our reminiscing, and next week it's all business. We're back to the grind, and we're back to trying to build Geek Tank into something that's even better. So.
And me explaining to Allan just why Morbius is the worst thing ever.
Oh, great. Okay. So, spoiler alert. So I was about to say,
I'm willing for it to be bad. I'm willing for it to be good. I had hopes. I had, desires and dreams, but, we'll see what reality has for us.
We'll be following Moon Knight as well. And also, Allan, the final finale of Attack on Titan. So that's coming up. So the geek news is going to be flying.
Giant naked people eating little people.
Yep. And we'll be here to report it.
And we're going to have to do a whole episode on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he says I talk about cooking too much. He talks about a show where there's a lot of things getting eaten.
Oh, yeah. But anyway,
eating things.
Okay, on that note, happy anniversary, you guys. Oh, my gosh. But it's time to get out of here. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Allan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
And I'm Brandon Olmstead, challenging you to stick with us for the next 7 years.
Have fun with that.
Doubt it.